Well guys, we've made it to a year here at Poultry Paradise, actually a little more than a year. I've survived, the hubs has survived, most of the chickens have survived. So what I want to do today is I want to talk about what it has been like for a full year here at Poultry Paradise, a year of having chickens. There's been some good, there's been some bad, as with everything, but let's talk about some of those things in case you're wanting to get chickens for yourself. Welcome to Poultry Paradise and our little mini barnyard that we like to call the hen den. Before we ever got chickens, I can honestly say having chickens was never on my radar at this time. I came home one day and we had chickens. My husband, being the researcher that he is and the hobbyist that he is, had been researching and had been looking into having chickens. So literally I drove up one day, he was sitting in the yard with baby chicks. So now here we are, a little over a year later. We've had our chickens for a while, and let's talk about it. I want you to know what it's been like for us here at Poultry Paradise. Now when we got our first chickens, it was mid-March. We are in Texas, so it wasn't cold, wasn't too hot yet, but the nights were cool. So here we were with baby chicks. We didn't have a coop, we didn't have a run. The nights were cool, we couldn't just stick them out somewhere. So they stayed in our garage for a while until my husband built our coop. Now our coop and our run are behind us. It did not look like this in the starting days. The coop did. You see we have two runs. So the original run and the coop were where we started. And we basically started from scratch. It's about a 4x8 coop it's above off the ground where the chickens can get under it. And it has been wonderful for our chickens. Our first breeds were some Barred Rocks, Buff Orpingtons. Didn't even know that whenever we got them. He did, but I didn't. But I can honestly say they were some of the best breeds we could have ever started with. And we feel like it was the best choice for us. They've been some pretty special girls. The Buff Orpington is a heritage breed developed for both egg and meat production. So gentle, so kind, so easy to learn chickens with. We had 3 roosters in the beginning. We do not have those roosters anymore. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And most of y'all know the OG Blanche here. She's from the beginning days. So let's talk protection for these babies. Growing up, or whenever thinking about chickens, you think chicken wire. That's all I'd ever seen, all I'd ever heard of. I had no idea hardware cloth was even a thing. But I learned really quickly that chicken wire, no, wasn't going to cut it. Hardware cloth was our friend, and you can see in our run here, it is all over. It's not even on the sides, it's on the top, and it's underground going out, so that if a predator were to ever try to dig in, it can't get through. We do live in a rural area, so we have predators. We've had foxes try to get in, we've had snakes, stray dogs, hawks. Ooh, we've got the hawks, owls. So protection was at the forefront of our minds for our chickens. So if we got our first flock in March, a couple of months later in May, the hubs decided, let's get more chickens. So we got about 12, I believe, Easter eggers from a local feed store. Some of our friends own that. And hold please. Gus and his ball is their biggest thorn in their side. Now when we got our Easter eggers, it was May. Like I said, weather was warming up. We did have a coop. We did have our run, but we knew we couldn't put those babies with the older ones. The problem with it being May is my daughter was graduating high school. It was the end of the school year. I'm a teacher. Life was crazy busy. So we did not honestly spend as much time with those Easter eggers, that second flock of chickens that we got, as we did with our first. Now the first, we pet them all the time. We carried them all the time, hand fed them all the time. The eggers, not so much. Now we still fed them treats, and they know we're the treat givers. They're very gentle with us. They trust us, but we never really built that bond with them that we did with our first flock. And it made a little bit of a difference, but they're all here together. They're all one big flock now. Okay, so that was May. Graduation happened. Got our eggers out here. Life was good. But as I said, we're in Texas, and Texas summers suck. So hot, so humid. We did our best to try to protect them from the heat. Unfortunately, we lost Rose, one of our buffs, to the heat, we assume. She was just dead one day when we came outside. But we did our best to protect them from that heat. They have shade, they have cover, they have water. We did ice in the little tubs, the little swimming pool. fans, everything we could possibly think of. But that's just one of the things with chickens and outdoor animals is sometimes the heat gets them here in Texas, just like those of you up north, the cold, is a problem for y'all. Now let's talk roosters. I was scared to death of roosters when I was a kid. I can't think of one in particular that did anything to me, but I can honestly say the few times I was around them, they chased me, and I didn't like it. It scared me. Well, we had 3 roosters from our original flock.
What are you doing?
We had Dumpling,
You had a good morning.
Tweedledum, and Rostifer. Well, Dumpling and Tweedledum didn't make the cut. Rostifer, though, he was a prince. He was my husband's favorite. They had a bond like no other. He was an excellent protector. He was gentle around us, around kids, around my dogs. But as with any animal, you can't predict their behavior, and one day he turned aggressive on us. So we'll just say Rostifer is no longer with Poultry Paradise. One of the things I also want to talk about is upkeep. The day-to-day, run-of-the-mill, what is it like to have chickens? We did our best to make things easier on us. Not that we travel a whole lot, but we wanted to know that if we did leave, our chickens are fine, they're tended to, they're taken care of. We installed the automatic doors. You can see up there on the run, we have one so that we're not having to come out every night and put them in the morning, come out every day to let them out. We did in the beginning, and we learned that was not something we really wanted to do if we didn't have to. Some of you like it, and that's great. But our automatic doors have been a lifesaver. Now, we don't have a door on the coop inside the run because it's protected in the run. My husband is a camera genius, and he installed cameras everywhere. We usually have a live chicken cam going whenever those cameras are up and running. My students at school love to watch that. That's actually how we knew we had a snake one time, was our live chicken cam. But the automatic doors have been a lifesaver. The cameras have been great. So if we're not home, we pop on those cameras and we see what's going on. Also, our feeding and watering system. Having to come out every day to check the food and the water. Great when they're little. You're going to do that anyway when they're little. But as they get older and more independent, having a setup that you don't have to check every day has been awesome. And I can show you from some of our other videos how we did that. But we have it set up where we don't have to check it for long periods of time and refill. And we can even attach some links here at the end of this video so you can see from our setup what we used. So we started with our original flock. We got more babies. Then about 8 months later, 10 months later, our school partnered with our county extension agent and our local farm bureau and brought incubators and eggs for our second graders to learn all about baby chicks. But that also meant we had 50 baby chicks at my school that needed homes. So I brought home too many. Gave some away to a friend, but we kept about 15, I believe, of those. We had 3 roosters out of that that we ended up keeping. 1 gone, but we do still have our other roosters. Here's Roscoe right here. So far, so good. We'll see if he makes the cut. And Bananas, that you can't see here. My kids at school named him. That's also whenever we built our addition to our run. Now, we knew that those babies couldn't be out here with the other chickens. We started them in a brooder box, but then the husband went and added another run. Almost identical in size. Here it is. We have 2 separate doors. We do even have an automatic door in between them so that whenever they can intermingle. Right now, we have a mama hen in there with 3 of her babies. Because dadgum, she doesn't go broody all the time. Hi, Roscoe. Now, I can honestly say the biggest blessing I think that we've gotten from our chickens, there's 2. 1, the companionship. Never thought I'd say that about a chicken. 2, the eggs. Now, every person that gets chickens, you get them for the eggs, or at least that's an added benefit of it. We love getting eggs. As a matter of fact, we probably get too much joy out of coming out every day to see how many eggs we got. It's like a little treat for our day to count the eggs. We even go back and look at cameras to see which chicken laid which egg. We're kind of nerdy that way, but we love it. Of course, we can't eat all the eggs we get, so an added bonus is we've been able to bless many of our family and friends with those eggs. It's a blessing to us. It's a blessing to them. That has been wonderful. So I've covered a lot of the basics. our run, our coop, our 3 different flocks, the chicken dog, who apparently is a camera hog today. But as with anything, there's the good and there's the bad. So let's talk about some of the negatives of having chickens. And the first one I want to talk about is snakes. Don't like them? You can like them all you want to. You do you. But I don't want them anywhere near me. I don't want them near my house, my yard, or my chickens. And we have only had one. He was a big doozy. If you've seen our video, you saw how big he was. And actually our cameras caught him in the coop. And one of our viewers saw that snake in the coop and told us about it. So Poultry Paradise 1, snake 0. But that is definitely a negative to having chickens. That's something you got to watch out for. This one, never thought I'd be saying it, but another negative is when your chickens die. We've had one that died in a storm. We had rows who died in the heat. We've had a few others. Nature has taken its course. Never thought I would be really upset about losing a chicken, but I am an animal lover, so I guess I should have thought it. But you get attached to these little babies, and when something happens to them, it'll bother you more than you expect it to, or at least it does us. Another thing, as with any pet, you can't just have a pet and expect it to take care of itself. There is day-to-day upkeep. Even though we have an excellent food and watering system, and even though they are protected, you can't just leave them to fend for themselves. So there is the day-to-day tending to your animals that if you're not willing to do that, you don't need chickens. You don't need any pet. But that is something that needs to be in the back of your mind of, are you willing to put forth that effort and that time to make sure these babies are tended to? Because yes, it's easy, but it is something that you have to put on your plate. Finally, the last negative. Poop. Poop and more poop. This place is filled with chicken poop. When we first got them, our back porch was covered. Therefore, they wanted to be under the covered area to stay out of the sun. But that meant my porch was covered in poop. So, if you can handle the poop, you can handle chickens. Now, we screened in our porch so they can't get on there anymore. We do make sure they have other shaded areas, but that was a godsend. That was a blessing. But it also meant the expense and the time and the labor to do that. But I will say it has helped 1,000%. So, a year in the life of chickens. Here we are, a little over. Yes, there are some negatives, as with anything. But would I do it all again? Absolutely. Can they be a pain in your bum? Absolutely. But can they also bring you so much joy? You know it. They definitely can. I would even go so far as to say they're therapeutic, especially for my hubs. So what's in store for Poultry Paradise for year 2? Well, who knows? But stay tuned with our channel, subscribe, check out our videos. Who knows? We may add more animals. If my husband has anything to say about it, this next video will probably have more chickens, but I kind of hope not. So, thanks for watching here at Poultry Paradise.